We know that systems are the solution to growing your business. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Probert.
And I'm Jonathan's co-host today, Laura Di Franco. Welcome to Systemized.
We're here to talk to successful entrepreneurs about the systems that help them grow their business. It's what we wanted to know when we started ours, and it's what's gonna help you build yours. And today we're excited to welcome the principals at Osumaré Learning, Parchelle and Portia, to the show. How's it going, guys?
Hi, wonderful to be
Going
here.
well. Thank you.
And before we get into it, let me tell you guys a little bit about Parchelle and Portia Osumaré first. They are the co-founders of Osumaré Learning, a school for contribution-focused efforts or experts. Together, they help people turn hard-won knowledge into clear stories and revenue-generating learning experiences. Parchelle is an executive producer of learning and an award-winning producer, and Portia is the chief experience officer and experience designer. Together, they help experts create more impact with more joy, ease, and profit.
And Parchelle, we met first a bit ago and started to get talking about what you were up to. And of course, I got excited with my publishing world and all of my experts who are teaching. And I was reading more about what you both do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like a perfect partnership because I want to publish. I want everybody to be able to teach their master tools. And when you came in with your services, I'm like, all right, we need to have these gals on the podcast. Like, let's go, you guys. So thank you for being here. We're excited to talk to both of you.
So
Thank you.
excited to be here.
All right, let's jump into this first question here. Can you guys tell us about something you implemented into your business that saved you time, effort, or money?
Parshall, I'm gonna let you take that one first.
I would say that one thing for sure that has really changed the trajectory of my business and how I've been navigating is actually the self-discovery, like discovering my genius, discovering my inherent gifting, and then reorient how I approach the business and where I spend my efforts. It's been more tailored and more specific to leaning into my strengths through some of those self-discovery modalities. For example, wealth dynamics. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that or not, but that particular assessment was very powerful at that time, which essentially gives you an understanding of how you are uniquely wired to bring solutions to problems. And knowing that for myself, I'm a dynamo genius, it really unfolded a lot of what shows up in more of this spring energy that I naturally bring to business and solving problems. And so that alone saved me a lot of time and energy, believe it or not, because it helped me to actually save time at the end of the day. Because, gosh, so much energy and effort going into trying to fit a round peg into a square hole kind of a situation was just that in and of itself, with just so much energy going in that direction. So I found myself being able to lean more into some of the strengths of my creative ability. And that for sure has saved me a lot of time and really increased the impact of the work that I'm doing.
Wait, did you just call yourself a dynamo genius? I love
Yes.
that title.
Yes, there are four different genius types in this particular framework. So there's Dynamo, there's Blaze, there's Tempo, and there's Steel. And so all of these really point to the geniuses that we all have.
I love it.
Yeah, I honestly, if I were to piggyback on that, I would say the same. And I think just to give some context around that, I think that one of the ways that entrepreneurs waste the most time, effort, and money is doing other people's plans and then wondering why they don't work in other people's plans. Like I've saved more money than anything, understanding how I'm wired so that I know what strategies are for me and how I'm designed to run a business, how I'm designed to create systems and structures, what systems and structures are tailored for me versus trying to fit myself into other systems and structures. To Parcelle's point, we love wealth dynamics. I'm a big fan. Like I love self-discovery so much. I have 7 different self-discovery modalities that I work with myself and clients around. Human design is probably the other one that we use a lot. And that really supports understanding kind of some of the like secret superpowers that you may not even know you have, but also those like little quiet pitfalls that you're like, oh, every time I get this operating system, why is it that I always fall into that? It's like, oh, you don't like spreadsheets. You don't like the way that they look. So we have to get more creative about how you actually show up in something that makes you want to use the systems that you're built because they're actually built for you.
Yeah. Oh my
Definitely.
gosh. How did you know I hate spreadsheets? Okay. We published a whole book on human design as well. So like, maybe you both know or don't know, like, self-discovery has been my entire lifelong journey. So I've pretty much tried almost everything there is to try. However, I wrote down wealth dynamics because that was a new one on me. So thank you for that. I think Jonathan's got another question about this for you.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on it, and you mentioned, I think, was it business ecosystem before the show? Yep.
Mhm.
Can you guys
Mhm.
go into what that is, what the system is, and how you're developing it so you're within your like your design and what you work best with?
Yeah, I can take this one. I a couple of years ago, after again, I have the pleasure, I guess maybe you can call that, of having worked with like hundreds of entrepreneurs. I cut my teeth being a coach inside of other people's really big coaching programs. And so I would have just like lots of volume of people having very similar problems to solve. And my particular corner of the world is really around helping people customize how they run their businesses, but also customize how they craft their offerings, like their services or their products. And so people would come in front of me and be like, no one's showing up to this, or how do I make the this, or what's the workshop, what's the fa la la. After so many conversations and so many kind of patterns to recognize, I started looking at my business and I started walking my clients through looking at their business like an ecosystem. If you think about an ecosystem, all of the parts talk to one another. It's this symbiotic energy of making sure that the tree provides shade for the ground, which provides soil for the mushrooms to grow, which provides a place that when the plants and animals die, they return back to the mushrooms. Like everything works in its own system, truly, without really needing a lot of like heavy oversight. Everyone kind of knows the role and then does the role. And so we started looking at your business like an ecosystem. And inside of that ecosystem, I look at the business from 7 different parts of the ecosystem. You've got your soul work area of business, your leadership area of business, where you really make decisions and how you know you're leading the business. You've got your client experience area that has all your offerings and your services. You've got your sales area that houses your community ecosystem, all of the relationships that you build that are necessary to actually make sure that you have those offerings and services in place. You've got your marketing area of business that gets you in front of that relationship ecosystem and make sure that you're in front of the right people. You've got kind of finance and legal that protects everything and make sure that you can fund all the parts. And then you've got operations that make sure that everything talks to each other, make sure that everything's moving smoothly, really ends up being like the motor truly of the ecosystem and making sure that it all works. And when I started to look at business like that, and I started walking my clients through looking at business like that, it made it so much easier to go, oh, I have a plan for everything. I know how I'm going to care for myself. I know what I'm learning and what decisions I'm going to be making. I'm really clear on what offer I'm focused on and what are the strategies that are necessary for everything else, which then makes it really easy to plan. It's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing quarter over quarter, month over month, week over week, day over day. And I find that most entrepreneurs struggle the most with what happens when they just are sitting in front of the Zoom. What what do I do when I push play or I start my day? And I have to make sure that all the parts of a business are working. I find that this ecosystem analogy and looking at 7 different parts makes it really easy to plan and also course correct. So it's like I can go directly into the part that's hurting and make any adjustments that are needed to make sure that everything else is functioning accordingly.
Yeah, and I love that approach too. Oftentimes when we approach this with our clients, especially in our planning circles that we do together, we literally sit down and say, imagine if all of these areas of business were as an individual voice in the room. What would each of them say right now about the health, about where, how it's feeling over here in this department and what things we need, right? It's such an interesting and I think a much more cohesive way of seeing business, and having that shift in how we perceive that has been really transformational for us.
Awesome, for sure. And I like having it in that separated out view. That brings me to my next question. For the people who are a bit more disorganized and maybe don't have all these 7 parts fully even thought of yet. What do you think the first steps would be in planning it out and picking maybe one or two to start with?
I would say always, 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 we start with what we call the soil of the business, which really is the soul work area. And the questions to really ask yourself are, is the work that I'm doing with my business aligned with the life that I want to live? And if I could get it more aligned, what are some actions that I would take? And how do I care for myself so that I have the capacity to actually do the things that I am desiring to do with myself and my business? And I think that's a great place to start. And then from the leadership area next, I probably would ask people, what's the good that you want to see in the world? And how does what you're doing with your business actually help you to align with that good? That's the best place to start foundationally, because then everything else can get crafted and reverse engineered from that.
Love, I
Some
love these. I think you said soul first. So I wrote down soul, my soul, but then you just said soil. And then you said soil and soul go together. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. But I get it. Like, I get that is the place where this tree is going to be nourished, right? Like, it's going to be the place that is the foundation for everything, really. So I'm really thrilled you're starting with self-care. And I'm sure we're talking to some burned out entrepreneurs right
Oh,
now who are
yeah.
listening. Yeah, you know it, right? Like, what else, Jonathan? What else should
the next question I think is when somebody is, they have their soul work and their leadership done and they're starting to develop out the other five. You talk about each being a part of a bigger system that works with each other. For the people who are struggling to get their client experience to work with their sales and their sales to work with their marketing, how do you start, linking those together and making them work better with each other so you actually have this full 7-part system, smooth and operating?
I like
This
this
is a
question.
very,
I'm
very good
ready. Come on,
question.
gals.
I will give you my take, and then Parchelle, feel free to pop in here. For me, I find inside of those 7 areas, when we look at client experience, sales, and marketing, it really ends up being really the heart of the majority of the planning work. And when I find people that are like, I can't get enough clients, or I don't have enough visibility, or I'm not making enough money, I can almost always go back to those 3 sections and see where there's a misalignment. So, first, we got to be really clear on what the primary offering you want people to have is, and the end result offering, whether it's going to be your highest ticket offering, whether it's, your service that allows you to have long-term revenue, right? You have to think through what is the main thing that I want to make sure that I'm able to sell for people. And then to whom is it the biggest benefit and that I am the most well connected to? And then how can I create a system to be more quickly and often in front of people who would allow me to be able to give them the opportunity to take on that client experience? That becomes your sales. And then that next question really comes down to, what are the strategies that I can do to get in front of more of those people? And you can, if you make it really simple like that, it becomes much easier to cut the fat and the drama. Well, should I have this, 5 podcasts? Should I be on 12 different stages? Like, all of these great ideas start becoming more irrelevant when you realize, does those great ideas sell the offering, get in front of the right people, do the right strategies that would have me be in front of the right people more frequently? That's almost always the revenue driver piece of someone's business. And once we get revenue in place, it makes it so much easier to architect systems because we have this machine really kind of moving in that space. That typically is where, almost always with people, when they come and tell me that they're unorganized, it comes down to something off in those 3 areas of business. Because you all are kind of operationsy people. You get that, like, systemizing something is easier when we know what we're attempting to systemize and we know what the outcomes are and what the goals are. But without that, we really are grasping at straws and throwing systems at the wall and hoping that they're going to scratch the itch that a lot of us don't always know is going to happen, if that way, and that makes sense.
You gave me a little ideal client aha just now, because I know who mine is, but you said, to whom is it the biggest benefit? Because in that bucket, of the person I know, there's going to be a smaller amount of people where the benefit is the biggest. They might all have some benefit, but I actually don't want someone to have a meh kind of benefit. I want them to have like the yeah. So I love that. I heard that loud and clear. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would piggyback in that too. Once the soul work and the leadership areas, you have clarity there. It's going to illuminate outcomes that you want to see happen in that given period of time. And so the way that we approach planning also is to determine like what are my main, we usually aim at 2 or 3 of these top outcomes that we want to see happen. And then inside of those outcomes are the milestones. How do we know that we are tracking right towards that outcome? And then from there as well, we end up with projects that we then can focus on. And then within those projects are what we call execution. We're very sensitive to the language that we use as well, because to just say tasks, to-dos, automatically start to, at least for myself, start to make me feel like a machine. And I'm not a machine. I am building one, right? So there's a distinction there that comes about in terms of what is the execution that needs to happen. Then the execution usually for us looks like routines and again, actions, right? What are the routines that are going to be repetitive that keep this particular area or what have you focused? And so I say that to say that all of the other 5 areas of the business start to rally around the outcomes that are needed as well. They all start to come together in alignment and what's actually is needed to accomplish that said outcome.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. From what I'm getting, it's get clear on what you want out of your business, what you're trying to do there, and what you want your life to be. Then once you figure that out, set up your getting revenue. So that's what your offer is, low ticket to high ticket. How do you get in front of people to sell it, and how do you get it in front of even more people to like with marketing? And then once you have that set down, then everything kind of starts falling into place, and you turn it into something you can manage with project management tool or better systems and processes that get it more streamlined. For sure.
Absolutely. And I think, the truth is all of us are doing all the areas of business all the time. Like when people
Yeah.
are telling me like, oh, I don't know, I'm not doing that area. I'm like, well, tell me what you're doing every day. I can very easily map it to every area. It just becomes really powerful for you to know. Because
Yep.
then when you do have an area where you're doing almost nothing, it's like, oh, well, that's why it's broken.
Definitely. One more question here I have about this system is uh what did it affect in your life when you actually got it down, and what do you suspect it can affect in people who start to implement it?
Am I going
Yeah,
first on this one, or are you going
I
first?
I will go first because then I would love to piggyback to you. I would say that the biggest and the most exciting aspect about this approach to seeing the business as an ecosystem and the planning that's necessary is almost like tending to a garden. What I love about this structure and this cadence for us is that every season, usually at the change of the seasons, naturally, not quarters, is when we actually plan for the season ahead. We're actually getting ready to do that this weekend. And what I would say about this ecosystem is that it has put me in community. I can't tell you guys, and I didn't even realize how isolated I had been as an entrepreneur. The fact that now with this ecosystem, it brings other people together in that respect. And so to be able to approach this planning and to do it in partnership with other community members is night and day for me. I think of that experience, like just it compounds very, very well, I feel like, as it relates to being able to be in connection and community as we approach this. And so that's one of the aspects. I know that there are many, but that's one for sure that immediately popped to my mind is like, hey, we're able to actually call our friends that we call the business cousins, and we say we're going to huddle up and plan for the next season. So it is like transformed everything about that I don't have to do in isolation.
I love that, Parchelle, especially because, we know everyone avoids their systems because it's the unsexy part of the work. But when you do it together, it does just make it suck less. I don't know what the magic is, but there's something about somebody else's face that does make it easier. It's funny that we're having this conversation now because we're getting ready to do our summer huddle this weekend. And I was realizing this is our third summer huddle. It's our third year in a row of gathering a group of friends together to plan in this way. And I think what's been so powerful for me as the person who facilitates that is the system is so easy and clear that I can facilitate a 2 day long event, and I also do my planning while the system is while I'm delivering the facilitation, because it is like it's really formulaic, and we have been so undervaluing the power of shared language. So many of our community come back to us and say, "These are my outcomes, my milestones, my projects. Like I know what to call it." So in and of itself, I have more peace because it's not the big bad wolf. It's now operations. It's not the big bad wolf. It's just my leadership area of business. The shared language, I think, gives people, again, a place to play for community. It also gives a peace of mind because you know what to name something that's happening. It doesn't just feel like it's existing. I also think that, there is so much peace and ease that comes from being someone who does the strategy when there's time to strategize and then can execute when it's time to execute. It is so exhausting to be trying to strategize while you're executing. And then you get into this world where you feel like you're doing all the right things and you can't really see any traction in your business. And oftentimes it's like we're doing so many switch of energies in one day that it's difficult to even have a day that actually produces the effectiveness that you would want. And there's something about doing this work. I do it once a year for my year. I do it once a season for the season. And then I do little checkups weekly, monthly, daily. And it just gives a different amount of hours back to me of having to figure that out day to day. Almost like the difference between being proactive than being reactive, and how much peace comes along with that when you allow yourself to actually do the strategic work and have some sort of formula to keep coming back to.
Awesome. Great. Definitely a full circle there. Once you've, worked through all those things, starting getting your system in place, it comes back to you at the start. And then you're really asking yourself, what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah. And making sure
Truly.
you're aligned with it. How
Yep.
often do we pretend like life is like a crock pot? It's not a set it and forget it. Like you got to kind of come back, stir the pot, make sure that we're still on track. Like, do you still
Hmm.
want that thing? And I think that sometimes business owners, we can convince ourselves that because people will say things like billionaires are boring, and they are. There are certain things you want to put in place that are the boring things, the mundane things that really make the business run. But then there are parts that are a garden. You want to tend to it. You want to make sure that it is living and breathing and producing something that makes lights your soul on fire. Otherwise, why did we do this? I could go work a job if I just wanted to be bored.
Exactly. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to my mom to ask some more entrepreneurial questions and we'll get to that same like addressing thing of why would we come back and work a job when we can be entrepreneurs and live our life freely?
Oh my gosh. I love the last piece about, your summer huddle and community. Parchelle was talking about like that immediately made me think of going back to the full circle nourishing my soil. It's like, yes, and Parchelle, I so heard you when you said I can't believe how isolated I was. You recognized, and I'm like, oh, me too, me too. I love getting on Zoom with my writer friends, and we've got a book writing program that's going all year, and half of the time we're together, we're all just silent, typing away, doing our things, getting our stuff done. But there really is something about seeing a face and like looking up and seeing everyone working together and doing their things, right? I love that so much. So the entrepreneurial journey can be challenging at best. What do you think is the most important business building tip you want to share with us today? If you had to pick one, I know, one golden nugget, what do you think it would be?
I am going to state, just again, based on what we've seen, what we've experienced, what we're developing, what we're seeing as the future of even entrepreneurship, is knowing your unique contribution.
Mhm.
We are all here with a unique way that we show up to support one another. And that is going to be imperative even more so in our upcoming days ahead, is our ability to call on each other and to be able to support one another. And everyone has a unique way that they are bringing that contribution. And I think that contribution forward decisions and thought processes and things of that nature are going to do more good and thus bring more good back to us individually. So I just really feel like as we are building business going forward, like it should be unique to your contribution and what you're here to do. Be aware of your vision. What good in the world do you want to see? Know who the people are that you consider your people, for all manners of what that means, either people that you're here to serve, but also the people that you're here to do this work alongside, right? Know how you're uniquely designed to bring your brilliance to the world, right? How do you do that uniquely? And then also, what resources are you bringing to the table? And resources don't just mean money and energy. It also means your lived expertise, the experiences that you bring to the table, your studied expertise, right? Your level of genius that only you know, right? Like all of those, we kind of teach and showcase as like a culminating aspect of your unique contribution. It's made up of those factors. And as we build our business forward, I think that it's just so, again, vital that we know that for ourselves and we begin to communicate that with each other, right? We know what everyone's unique contribution is, right? And we can do a lot of really, really good in the world. That's what we see as the future of business. It's like our tagline here at Osumaré Learning is the future of business is doing more good.
Okay, so would you feel comfortable giving an example for yourself? Like if I met you in the elevator and said, Parchelle, what do you think your unique contribution is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this. I would say that my unique contribution in the world is really centered around me being as a guide. I really believe that my contribution here is to help bring clarity, bring activation to how we learn and to reimagine that. So my contribution in that is just creating the spaces for us to be able to do that and reimagine learning for us. And so the people that are involved in that are definitely, as I consider, our ecosystem of experts, right? And then there's also those that want to come and learn. There's also those that want to come and learn how to produce this type of learning as a future way of carrying on that wisdom. I also believe my design is supported through a lot of dynamo energy, so a lot of creativity, a lot of ideas. I love being in the idea space. Also, knowing my design as a Capricorn and as a generator, I bring really good container to things. Like I'm just very good at just taking all of this, you know, nuance and all of the context, all the stuff, and just bring it into a way that people can experience it and have a really good time learning from that. And then I would say my resources that I bring to the table, again, all of these things are come together. My resources really come from my experience as a teacher, also as a media producer, also as someone who supported experts, authors, and speakers for over 10 years now. So all of those pieces come together in how, right, I see my unique contribution and those components. So I hope that makes sense. Oftentimes when I talk about this, it's like you have to, those things bring context to that as well to kind of paint that picture. But that would be my answer to that question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, that was great. I love the practical examples. I'm kind of a practical gal. I'm an Aquarius generator with an alien amount of willpower, evidently. So just in
Hey,
case you're curious about that little HD moment there.
I love that.
Yeah, I that's the one thing she said about my chart. She looked at it and she like was quiet for a minute. And she's like, I have to look at this again. And something about the willpower. So I got it all.
I love that.
All right. So Portia, maybe I'll come to you first with this. We're going to close out with this question or this idea. So, one of the goals around here in our systemized world is to support our fellow entrepreneurs. We want to support them in their businesses, get that goal of that time freedom that we all want, right? That lifestyle we want to live. So tell us a little bit more about what entrepreneurship has personally done for you. Maybe something unexpected or something you never saw yourself doing. Talk to us about the good stuff.
Oh, goodness. You're going to get me teary in here thinking about it. Entrepreneurship, Okay, little piece of story time. So I come from like food retail corporate background. I was worked for a coffee shop for 15 years, went all the way up through store manager, got developed into district manager. Real was working 90, hours a week sometimes, like insane, in front of people's face every day. There was a part of it that I loved, but most of it I really hated. Like once I stopped being a barista, everything got harder. Like I was like, okay, yeah, there's just I loved developing team and I loved my customers and I loved anticipating and being in that space. I think I'm still in that space of customer service and client experience, but I hated the math and the politics and the rigmarole. And I remember how often I would go on my lunch break and cry in my car and go, if I could just figure out how to get all of these things that people say that I'm so good at to do for myself, it would change my world. And the truth is, it did. Entrepreneurship gave me back agency and sovereignty and the ability to take all of the skill sets that I had used to make everybody else a whole lot of money, my own ability to affect the people that really mattered to me. And when they say that entrepreneurship is one of the most intense spiritual journeys you can go on, it was absolutely that for me. It catalyzed so much of me learning how to prioritize myself because it became, if I've got to fill my cup to make sure that other people are filled, I might want to get clear on what my own needs are and how to actually meet my own capacity and understand how to not be burnt out, every 8 months and in the hospital because I went too hard. Because when I'm in the hospital for a month, then people can't get what they need from me. It became this catalyst, this almost like a playground for how to learn how to really care for myself as not just a productivity machine, but as a person. And it changed everything when I got that agency back. I always tell people, don't get me wrong, running a business is hard, but I choose my hard and I'll take this hard any day compared to the hard that I was living before.
I love that answer. You know we would. You knew we would. Oh my gosh. I'm going to shout it out because both Jonathan and I contributed to Journal of a Visionary and we wanted to tell these stories. I did. And I'm like, I challenged everybody to come in here and say and tell us that story. Like,
Mhm.
we know it's hard. I'm gonna make a meme out of I choose my hard, Portia.
Yes,
I
tag
love
me.
that. Yeah, I love that. All right, Jonathan, I'm handing it back to you.
Well, I wanted to hand that same question over to Parchelle as well,
Okay,
because
let's hear
always
it.
the always good to hear those from any
Yeah.
Oh
person
my
here.
gosh. Entrepreneurship is definitely, it was such a shift for me. My experience in terms of corporate or having been in my career space was as a high school teacher. And the last couple of years while I was teaching, I ended up picking up videography on the side just to make some extra money. Little did I know that this would become something I did full time and that I've continued to do. Of course, in the space of being able to produce now, but oh my gosh, like entrepreneurship just opened up this world for me that I didn't know existed. And it has challenged me in so many ways to know myself better, I think is really one of the biggest benefits of this process is just knowing myself better, knowing my strengths, knowing what I'm here to do. All of those have been illuminated through this path of entrepreneurship. And I remember it's so funny when I decided to stop teaching at that time, I, oh my gosh, I remember saying because most people thought that I quit teaching because I couldn't handle the kids. I loved I loved my work. Literally no day was like the other one. Always had a new experience, especially in high school dealing with teenagers. But I remember when I left teaching, I didn't have an intention to not be with the kids and being in that space. I just knew that the resounding message that I felt in my heart and what I think I said to my principal at the time that was there, I said, I just want to be able to teach on my own terms. And
Yes.
so I didn't know anything about the journey ahead. Next thing you know, I'm filming weddings, birthday parties. You know what I mean? It's like, how is this connected to this? But now to look back and see the experience, right? And the reps that have come in through just supporting people and getting their message out in the world and having it to be produced really, really well has been such meaningful work to do. And it's just such an interesting full circle moment to see that I am now like teaching on my own terms through entrepreneurship. And so it feels good to do that. It feels good to do that alongside of some of my favorite friends, my colleagues, our clients, and now I get to do it with my wife, which blesses me each and every time. So truly, I feel like the luckiest person in the world.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, Portia, Parchelle, thank you guys so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share with us. Before we let you go, though, we're going to give you the chance to let people know where you're at, what you're up to, and where to find you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I will let you know. We are teaching. We've got classes coming up this summer at Osumaré Learning Center. We have a digital kind of expert college. So we're hosting a variety of cohorts this summer. We're doing an audio lead magnet cohort that starts here in July 8th. We'll be having a power of audio workshop that's happening on June 16th. June 24th. June 24th.
24th.
June 24th, we're having a Power of Audio workshop. So you can come find out about audio. For those of you all who've been thinking about, putting down a course or putting down a training, audio is so low effort, high impact, and we're loving it right now. So we're going to be talking about our favorite ways to teach with audio. And if you like a little self-discovery, hop on our website at osumarelearning.com. We have a test there to help you to find out your contribution archetype and the business model that goes along with that archetype, because we love a self-discovery modality over here. So find out about your contribution archetype and model, and we would love to hear about it. You can find that information at osumarelearning.com. You can also waitlist for any of our upcoming cohorts there at osumarelearning.com as well.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard them. Reach out, carry on the conversation. You can find their links in the description. Also, if you're interested in implementing AI systems into your business, please feel free to grab a free discovery call with me, which will help you get started systemizing your business today.
So everyone listening, we love systems. You just heard a couple of invitations, both from Parchelle and Portia and Jonathan, for some discovery time. Go down into the chat description and grab your time. It might change your life. I'm really excited about the programs that you both are delivering. And Jonathan, your AI systems have changed my life and my business. So I get excited when we get to talk systems.
Okay, guys, that does it for this episode. Thanks for watching. And remember, for epic business growth, get systemized.